All right, we are live. Okay. Hello. So,
Hey, Joe.
DENDAO Call. I don't know who's
Yeah, here we are.
on. We can watch the chats, but
Yeah, we'll see what we got. I know I've been out of office for a while. I don't even have my regular stuff. I'm in a hotel room, so just wanted to check in to see what we can talk
right,
about today.
right on. And so we have the agenda. Let's see, anything community input feedback. So it's down below. Questions. Okay. Make sure you put questions out, reminders, do all the things for the roundtable, super happy and coffee with Den related to everything we do already. And we can get straight to the stuff, right? You want to just,
Okay. Yeah, I think the only one line on the agenda was just a reminder that the on next Tuesday, I think the next LCP starts.
yes, because we had an off week. I guess there was an extra week in October, maybe, or an extra Tuesday in October. So we had a week that we didn't have to do anything with the LCP. So, first up, and I did vote up, yes, was the topic about the behavior liquidity pool, BLP blips, maybe. I don't know what we want to call them, and mostly, and I'll go over here that it popped up in the discussion about adoption, right? And it was in marketing
Okay.
strategy. So I
I'll have to go
essentially,
back and read over that. I missed that whole thread. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty decent. Let's see here. Man, yeah, I guess it was quite a bit longer than maybe we'd have time to cover. But essentially, I brought up something related to adoption. Sorry, I'm scrolling here. I thought I had it in front of me. Sorry about that. Um, and was wondering. Oh boy, did I totally just lose my place? Okay.
You'll find
Anyway,
it.
uh, okay, I mentioned that the behavior liquidity pool possibly a key component because he mentioned token value and market cap as being a draw, and that you could at least feasibly attach market cap or relate market cap to adoption. That they should go hand in hand, and the problem if one goes astray, the other is going to be hard to keep up or to recover maybe. And so I mentioned behavior liquidity pool. I do see as a core component because you have this. You then have a closed loop system, whereas right now it's like we have an open circuit that we're doing all this stuff in here, and we know that the behavior measure works well to determine how much you should mine. We know that works, right? We've seen it work. It's not perfect, but we know it works.
And is
Um,
this related to what we've discussed a little bit before about having basically there still being a public system that's open and also having this behavior-based liquidity pool that rewards even like price point wise the behavior that you want to see? Is this related to that?
right, right.
Okay.
Because right now it's like you have this, and we have two, in my opinion, two of the three major parts. So the first is the mining itself. Okay, if you do this, you gain. If you do this, you lose, right? And essentially, you are trying to compete against everyone else to try to gain as much as possible and lose as little as possible, so that you mine more matter and therefore mine more lore, therefore produce more energy, therefore do more things, right? Um, the second part of it that is not quite as important, or at least not in a primary way, is the governance. That same set of behaviors or similar, there's some slight different tunings on it, affects your ability to help govern the system, right? How much weight do you have when you vote? Oh, I don't think we should change that variable, or I don't think that this or that should happen on the network. That is a governance piece, and it's also in DENDAO directly affected by behavior, right? The thing we don't have is now, well, I should say inside the system, matter, you produce more matter, you can use it, but there are limited things you can use it for. And there are alternatives that are outside the system. And our issue with outside the system, at least you could look at it objectively from a network point of view, is that once the matter tokens leave the system, uh, behavior is totally everything outside of Den is totally ignorant of that
Right.
behavior component that
Right.
essentially goes to straight math, and you're hitting a curve on on Uniswap, or sorry,
Mhm.
that one way or another, a decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange wouldn't matter, has no information about your place in the network, um, and yeah.
I remember this being a big part of, this is, I think we're going to keep talking about this in the context of matter, but I wanted to say that I have put a lot of thought into this in the context of lot as well, where
Yes.
I love the idea of the
Yes.
opposite of that, where um, this is kind of like, it depends on how you feel about it, I guess. But the idea that a token would be worth more or less, or would hold more or less power or weight, depending on who's holding it, right?
Yes.
So, like, if you're a more powerful wizard, maybe the crystal ore can do more for you than if somebody else who has not really been putting in the time and training to wield that object is holding it. And we can
Hmm.
do the same sort of thing with, um, I was talking to sinfully cerebral about it a little bit, about like how to do something more interesting and meaningful with the lot, especially considering some of the I would say dormant lot that's out there.
Hmm.
But anyway, I just want to say that to say you could do something similar with matter too, depending
Yep.
on who's holding it, and their behavior and their track record and their reputation
Right.
could be worth more or less in within the ecosystem.
Yes. And in my opinion, like you say, I am still heavily in favor of a change to make your lot more or less, whether the constraints are at zero to max, or whether whether it's lessened. But that if you are doing nothing in a layer, let's say I have a lot of history lot, let's say, and I don't have enough time to spend the time I would like to in there, right? But occasionally I do go in there and do things. I think it would be brilliant, fantastic, if I were, uh, how do I say it? If I were penalized for doing nothing. And penalized, is like I don't lose my lot. I still hold my lot,
Yeah.
but I'm not
Weighted
generating the
against
matter.
other people, weighted against
Right.
other lot holders of like lot, weighted
Right.
against them. If they're putting in more effort and more hours and more time and more
Yep.
energy, then yeah, they should. Yeah. I think that's on a short list of things. Once we're able to really put work into Den again at a reasonable pace, right now Den is kind of, I wouldn't say in a feature freeze, but it's effectively kind of, it is what it is right now. And it
Hmm.
does what it does really well. But that's one of those things where it's not even just a nice to have. It's functionally something that would really improve
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
And
It,
I
it
think
would
that's
counter the
on the list of,
whale
yeah,
issues, right? It's like where it would make, I think it would be so much more fair to the people who are actually doing things in there. As like, I really want to do that. So that's coming. Yeah, that's a high end. So this though is trying, and what I wanted to get to with this is some of the effects. So when I mentioned that, I am asked, was it something in terms of like a tax where Ethereum is already doing that, but again, Ethereum is taxing you the same as someone who's 100 times better than you are on Den, and the same as someone who's 100 times worse than you on Den. And that's the issue, that we're not talking about. I think, and some people might hate this if they think about the concept, because essentially, and not purely maybe, but we are affecting the fungibility. But it's not affecting the fungibility in terms of this token itself. It's affecting the fungibility on this token held by Dave, or this token held by I am for I am, right? That it's
yeah. It isn't the fungibility of the token; it's the fungibility of the holder, I guess.
yeah, the
The of
actor, the
the
owner, the
Yeah, the token itself is still
yeah.
as fungible as it ever was.
And
It's just
exactly,
that
exactly,
it isn't as neutral to
right,
who's doing the
right,
thing.
right. And so, so people who are watching, we can at least,
Which I guess
right.
is, now that I've talked it through, I guess that is an aspect of fungibility. So yeah, it
Mhm.
would change that some.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and you might think, well, you shouldn't. Well, one thing, it doesn't, like you say, it does not affect the core fungibility of that token. You can still go no matter what we put in place to add, and it might not even be us. It might be some independent party, but whatever is there
Well,
for
actually,
a
I take that back because it doesn't matter. Like if I swap 5 of my matter for 5 of yours or IM for IMs, I still get the same exact utility and value out of it, no matter whose tokens I'm swapping for.
yep,
Right. So they're
yep.
still fungible among themselves to me from my perspective.
Exactly. It's almost like a relativity thing, right? A token
Yeah.
relativity.
And what I like about it most, I would say, even beyond the the value that I think that it has as a system. And I know you haven't even finished explaining it yet, but
Well,
uh, I like that I haven't seen it done before.
yes. That in itself is
You
something,
know,
right?
and that's something to always try to do is something that hasn't been tried.
Yes. Yes.
That makes it fun.
Well, yes. There you go. And it's at least worth considering figuring out, what, trying to predict the effects, right? So, first point that I wanted to make was that existing marketplaces have zero knowledge of the the user's value to the network, or I got these tokens by doing X, right? There, it's like, I don't care about that, and the bot that's about to trade against you doesn't give a shit either. They're gonna still beat you, right? That's one of the weird issues with those marketplaces, right? um, where in the traditional stock exchanges, if you want to relate trading I obviously consider them totally different worlds, utility tokens versus equity ownership in a company, right? Where ownership in a company is like, okay, I might have some governance. I have a vote because I have one share. But I can't do anything with this share except hold ownership. I can trade it because if it's more valuable tomorrow than today, or vice versa, I can hold it, and maybe I get dividends or some other output. But I can't take this stock, and let's say I have stock in Nike. I can't take this stock and use it to buy shoes, or even to get a discount on shoes. Right? It's like, nope, doesn't matter. Um, Whereas in our world, these things are utilities, and in our case, they're even licenses to do something on a system, which is wholly different, but it's very important, therefore, because I'm an active user on this network, whereas the person who holds Nike stock is not an active user of Nike. They might be they may never wear shoes, you know. Whereas, if I hold this matter, it's because I've done something for one, and because I want to do something in the future with, what I'm doing in a network. So that's one big piece, that uh, in these utility networks, and that's whether you're talking about DIN, or you're talking about Axie Infinity, or you're talking about some other token-based network in the world, that the issue with this disconnect, or this huge gap of knowledge um, about that behavior, is that I, as a user, let's say I'm not, one of the whale users or founders. Let's say I came in here because I realized, okay, this is a way to help me feed my kids, right? So you can't blame someone for needing to take the value that they've earned and convert it to their local currency so they can pay for dinner, right? But the issue with it is that we've seen it on every network we've looked at that has this problem, where those very people are forced to shoot themselves in the foot. I'm doing all this work, and pretty soon that network's going to go down because I have to compete against you to sell mine first before the price goes down further, which means you're going to do the same thing and the price is going to go down further. And therefore we can't hold any value and become wealthy, right? We can't do that because it's too obvious that the game is to convert before anyone else gets a chance. So the mining happens, boom, I have to convert, right? Um, and there are variations there, but that's a huge issue. That's a downward spiral. It's been documented in Axie Infinity. We've seen similar things in Matter. We've seen similar things in a lot of other networks I've talked to various people about. So it also happens with liquidity. So or affects the people who are providing liquidity. Because you imagine if someone has a really good reputation or score or whatever we want to call it, that the liquidity they provide should provide better fees than someone who has a bad reputation providing liquidity, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff there, and the way, and I'm not a mathematician or anything, but liquidity pools have this curve that effectively over time, when the balance of two tokens moves, will affect the price. So if you're wanting to sell one token, it's going to be a different price than if you're wanting to sell 500 tokens, or and on the opposite side buying too. So all of those things are there, and so introduce this concept, and we talked about it on the roundtable. We talked about it here a little bit. We talked about it in a few other places, and I finally have convinced two of our partners, Dragon Chain, that this could help them, right? And it's an interesting thing because I probably am missing some big effects, but generally, the thing that I think is going to happen if we put this in place and put even a reasonable amount of liquidity, and you have to understand that on the edges of how do I say this? On the edges of that chart, that if we get too far up or down on either side, that there will be limitations. That essentially, with a formula like this, that liquidity might dry up, right? That it might not be liquid at
Yeah,
certain points.
that's why I've started. If you remember, like there's even a little guide or tutorial somewhere about. I did some trades with Matter. Some
Mhm.
for like real world stuff. Like I bought a camera from
Right.
someone. I sold a computer. I was even talking to people about how to buy a layer. Right? How do I calculate how much Matter to send? And it was that same situation that you were just talking about, where at the fringes on the edges of the liquidity pool, once you're to a certain point, you can look at the theoretical market value per token that's on Etherscan, or that's on Uniswap or something, and you can do an armchair calculation and say, oh, it should be this many tokens. But your achievable market value is going to be different.
Yeah.
Your actual, like, if you want to say how much, like, what is what is one ether worth of Matter, that's answered different ways depending on who's calculating, right?
Right. Right.
If you take the number that's on Etherscan and calculate it on paper, you come out with one number. If you plug it into the Uniswap actual trading algorithm and you click the trade button, you come out with not that number,
Yeah.
right?
Very different.
And
Yes.
so I was even thinking about that, like over in the music layer, I had this sort of harebrained idea that was actually a dream this week. I woke up, I wrote it down in my dream on paper, and then I woke up, and then I wrote it down on the music layer. I was like,
Wow.
hey, this could be cool, actually. It's a half an idea, but it could, with some work and with some help. So if any of
Mhm.
you are music fans, help me out with that. But in that, I was like, what if you had a nonprofit where people could, write off donations on their taxes? How would I evaluate a crypto donation? Because you can say, oh, it's worth this based on market value. but what's your achievable market value? What's your actual, if I were to liquidate, sell this achievable market value?
Mhm.
That's a different number,
Right.
right? So I've had some experience with exactly what you were talking about. So I wanted to give kind of a real world example
That's
of
cool.
that.
Yeah, I in fact, there was a post, I believe it was on 4chan, where they provided a scenario that shows a really interesting angle on how you could generate trillions, and it would be uh, proper accounting and everything, but it was absurdities, but it kind
Mhm.
of demonstrate I think they were trying to demonstrate what the Fed does essentially, with currencies, but doing it with cryptos and NFTs, right? Very simple
Mhm.
stuff, right? So anyway, one of the effects of this, in my opinion, I think it would close the loop on the behavior, because it would essentially, in a voluntary way, let people know, look, yes, you can still go to Uniswap or wherever to sell, and let's say it's token X. It's not matter. It's like, keep it open, whatever it is. You can go and you obviously can sell it. However, if you are a good actor, you're generating good content, and you're not dumping or whatever. All of the numbers are pretty solid. You could effectively calculate, okay, I need $50 to get through this week or whatever, and you would be able, instead of going and selling uh 5,000 tokens or whatever it is to get $50, you could go and sell 20 tokens to get $50, right? And effectively, and there are a lot of questions with the curve, and that's why I went to our partners, because the one partners at Dex, I mean, they've spent a great deal of energy building out a really interesting liquidity pool model that they call Surface, because it's not a single line. It's there's an extra dimension to it, and it has to do with they have the ability to place constraints, where legally they have certain obligations. They have to have a minimum price or various other things, right? So they have a lot of really good info. Hello, I am Fred. How's it going? They have a lot of good info on how we can make this work, right? And so I introduced them to the concept about 2 months ago. We finally got to meet in person in Milan last week, and so it was really good, because we got down into the depths of it and what's required, and uh, a few different alternatives on how to implement, how to actually build based upon what they already have. And so huge uh, uh, value to meeting with them about this, because essentially my theory is that if we can close the loop on this, not only can we affect behavior better, because now not only is it valuable that I can earn more of, let's say, matter, but what I'm earning is more valuable. So it's like this very powerful closing of the loop. And the outside effect, though, is that it offers new opportunities, where, let's say, I'm scoring in the top 20th percentile or something. I'm doing pretty well. I have an added advantage to go and buy the tokens at less than a cent or whatever they are at any given time, and hold them over here, and even potentially buy 500 of those tokens and sell them over here, sell 50 of them, right? And essentially the 50 that I'm selling are paying for the 500. So I'm up 450 now, which means a lot more for my reputation.
But then
And
you're buying 500 and liquidating, selling 50, so you're still net positive on the
right,
whole balance of
right.
that.
And the reason it would work, and depends definitely on the curve and the constraints, but um, the reason it would be interesting is because essentially that would pull the dumb markets closer to the smart markets, or to the
Hey,
behavior
do me,
markets. right? Yeah, it'd be arbitrage between the two, but the arbitrage would not solely be based upon, I see this opportunity that nobody else sees. It is, I'm willing to do this thing that nobody's does, right? So that's the thing that would draw it, because your arbitrage would be behavior based and not just, oh, I'm connecting these two things together. It's like just connecting them doesn't get you anything. You have to do these things. And I told them, I think theoretically you would end up with a gap between the two. Like, let's say you're already going to have a wide gap when you first put this in place, but it should narrow. But theoretically, if it's efficient enough, the system should have a gap which equates to the value of the behavior, I think. At least that would be the high end study that I would do. The behavior.
But this is where
Cost.
you are with your conversation. It's like
Right.
you're down to those questions. So the interest in doing it ASAP, they're on board with that. It sounds like.
Right.
Cool.
The data scientist was like, when can we get this started? He wanted to start right away. And the guy that coded up all their liquidity pool stuff was, he already knows how he wants to do it. And I had a couple of questions about if it's if it captures both directions or not. But there are a lot of little things like that we have to figure out. More than anything, I'm trying to figure out how do the constraints work, because there's so many variables. If you're talking about then let's just say, well, let's say user 1 versus user 2 versus user 3 with different scores. And then you consider the other variables on how many, and I don't know where, what is your control variable? I don't know, but I somewhat think that we would say, okay, let's try different scenarios where we have high, I don't know what you call the B token. Let's say it's dollars, or let's say it's ETH or something. But if you have a lot of ETH versus you have a little bit, the balance is on the other side. And then what is it when you have high rep, mid rep, and low rep? What do those curves look like, right? And how are they constrained? Because a high rep person, I could cash out, let's say 2 tokens for $10 each, right? You have to be careful of that, because you do that too much, and it's like, no. So is there?
Well, that would have to, as the more you do that, the more it would change your. It would have to be a dynamically changing. It would change your. I don't know if you would call it rep, or if you would call it your score, or your status, or your category, or your bracket,
and
or
we
whatever
brought
it is.
up that time might be a big component as well. That if you've held them longer, maybe it'd be more valuable, because then you don't have that rush. It's like, well, I can't cash out it anyway. I'm gonna have to wait in order to build.
I think the thing to figure out on that, the thing that I would want to figure out and have a really good kind of warm and fuzzy on, I guess, like wrap my head around how it would work for the person I'll say the person on the other end of that trade. Even though it's not a person, it's a liquidity pool. Someone's providing liquidity to that pool. And so the important thing to think about is going to be, okay, what benefit is there? How am I okay with sometimes only getting this many tokens for my, let's call it Wether, or or how sometimes I get a bunch of tokens for it, and sometimes I don't get very many tokens for it, just because the person on the other end of the liquidity pool, let's say I'm the only person putting liquidity into the pool, right? Just for argument's sake. How am I okay with, I might only get 50 tokens for all that liquidity if 10 really well-behaved people all decide they want to be, cashing out that week. Or if a bunch of like really bad behaved low rep people decide they want to cash out, I get a bunch of tokens, for the same amount of Ether, or whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, the big question of how to balance That's where I think a lot of the whatever scientist you have on the job needs to
Yes.
be figuring out, okay, how do we make sure that's working and that's balanced somehow,
Right.
or
Exactly.
or whatever. Even if it is, I think the very first thing that I would go to on that would be that the part of that balance could be, because we want liquidity. Obviously, that's a big behavior that we want, is the liquidity provision. That if someone with a high rep does use that rep, that maybe that rep gets transferred to the liquidity provider that they're buying into. In other words, if you want the person who's selling, if you want their, just call it rep, let's call it their economic rep, just for argument's sake. If you need their economic rep to go down as they cash out more and more and more anyway to balance it, why don't we transfer that to the person who's providing liquidity as a reward for providing liquidity to a high value person when they don't get as many tokens for it? But instead of just the tokens, they maybe get both the tokens and the burned
Rep
rep
transfer.
transfer.
Yeah, that's
Instead of
great.
burning the rep, it transfers. So they actually do get some value. And then on their end, that gives them some ability to have a higher economic rep, because economically they are helping out so much by providing liquidity. That could be maybe the first thing to look at.
Good evening, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Howdy. Good evening.
Howdy. First thought is simulators. You're going to need to do a lot of simulations, I would think, and that's going to be interesting and fun. And then tweak it and in various market scenarios. I did well actually in the early days with crypto with arbitrage. So back in the day when you could buy in Poland and sell in Japan or vice versa or something like that. So that's actually where I did well with crypto and why I don't work anymore. Other than help people out or whatever, get involved in things that I like or something. But so arbitrage opportunity is what I'm understanding is between the smart market and the dumb market will still be available. Am I correct with what you just said there?
Yes.
So in other words, a DEX would be available as well as a smart market.
Yeah.
Like say with Matter.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just that if you happen to do that a whole bunch, you might lose your arbitrage opportunity until you build your rep back up. So you might do it only every now and then.
But on the other side, if you're either providing liquidity or doing whatever on the smart side, that you would be theoretically incentivized to go buy those cheap tokens because in your hands they're worth a lot more, right?
Sure.
So I'm just like, I'm going to go and and that would be a driver to bring the market back
balance, bring some smarts to
equilibrium, right?
And you could look at it. It might be even, and then maybe it's a marketing thing, but it might even be worth looking at it like from the context of making it expensive to work with bots. Right. That, you have to come and do the behaviors if you want to take advantage of this side of the world. Right.
Right.
So,
if I could speak to the whole infinity, because I was listening in the car and when you were mentioning like infinity token and one of the problems and issues with, especially in the cryptocurrency world, is that people want to speculate. It's a buy, sell quickly. It's short-term gains. That whole number go up function that we often talk about. And even it gets lost in the weeds. Like say when you compare Litecoin to Bitcoin Cash, because of that, right? People looked at, well, Bitcoin Cash is trash and this kind of thing. So the speculators were, trying to short the market or vice versa. So they're working to drive down the price, and that part of the whole number go up. Not that I'm a Bitcoin maximalist by any means, but Bitcoin was always held even after the fork Bitcoin has always been held as kind of the digital gold, the long-term hold, the long-term play, and the strong hands. And I think that's where something like infinity token and gaming tokens and play to earn tokens, games are good while they're good until the next new game comes out, and then it sits on the shelf and it gets less activity. And so there's a lot more sell pressure on something like infinity token versus, say, Bitcoin. Throw out the whole market forces of Federal Reserve and Wall Street getting involved and all that. Throw that part of that equation out of that. But Bitcoin is, as a lack of a term, better term, but digital gold, people are looking at it for a long-term hold versus infinity token is like, okay, the guy in the Philippines has lost his job. He's just going to play it just to make some money and feed his family and cash out quickly. It doesn't have that long-term speculation and long-term hold.
Yeah, but I think it's beyond that, though. I think the biggest variable is the first versus third world. That
Sure. Yes.
You don't have those Filipinos able to earn Bitcoin. I guarantee
Right.
you, if there was a way for
Right.
I'm gonna churn on this thing on this website and I'm gonna earn Bitcoin.
Right.
Bitcoin have the same problem because they're going to sell it. They
Right.
don't. There is no notion of what's next because the pit of stomach will outweigh.
Sure.
Oh, Bitcoin is digital gold. Is like they wouldn't give a shit about that.
Agreed. I completely agree.
All right.
The beautiful thing about Matter is there's three things. One, of course, we already have the scarcity principle built in, which was brilliant. Only 1 million tokens, right? 1.36, right? 8 right now. So that's scarcity, especially in the crypto world. The second part of it is where, like, say, infinity token, God knows how many, I don't remember what it is. But on when you're talking about these, behavior liquidity pools, that's actually another addition to scarcity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're adding another point. Yes, we're directly impacting to a point fungibility if that was the only market versus, say, a dumb market. But
Right.
we're certainly adding to the scarcity principle.
Mm-hmm.
But then the third point or third equation to the scarcity principle is Matter is a long-term play. It's a long-term hold. It's
Mm-hmm.
not really, in my view, anything into a quick speculation. And even back in the day when Matter, hit its all-time high of $1.30 something or whatever. And who was the guy and he's the one that got me into it. Starts with a D.
You're talking about
Crypto
Mike.
Dave, Mike D.
Mike D. Mike D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's actually, I watched his video and that's how I got introduced into Den. So
Cool.
even at that speculation point, his speculation was, hey, this isn't a day or week play. This isn't even a month play. This is maybe a 4, 6, or 1 year play. That was what I got from it. And see, I was already kind of done with the whole day trading of crypto, even though I'd already come off of that arbitrage play, right? So I was looking at long-term plays and disruptive technology that would be long-term. Mm-hmm. And that's what attracted me to Den. So I think as people start, because there's two different people that we're appealing to. We're appealing to the average person that just is looking for a good social media site, right? And we're also looking at, someone who is looking at maybe earning money with crypto or a long-term investment with Den. So Den's got a beautiful fork there, right? So right. You can play with Den all you want and sign up for free and post and yada, 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 and earn it Matter so you can do more postings. Or you can speculate with it in or outside of Den. So it's beautiful. So it's a long-term hold. It's more of a bag example. It's a Bitcoin gold hold for me. So when I'm as actually going to start pushing that number go up, please don't be offended.
Oh yeah, no.
When I'm not trying to be the number go up guy and hey, let's swap this and make some money. I'm using it And I'm not trying to pump the
Oh,
price. I'm trying to pump the users and
yes,
subscribers and put that carrot out there that we've lost with. There's nobody else out there like Mike D that's doing that.
right.
And I feel qualified to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say too. I mean, it's an interesting thing, and were we in a free world, I would probably speak more about this. But
Right.
you think about, and I don't even know what the current price of matter is. Right. I don't pay attention. But 1,000 matter a day. How much is that? Is it $100? Is it $40? Is it $20? It's definitely an extremely cheap driver of content. Now, if we could drive that value up, then the content should increase in value, or whether it's by volume that we get more good content, or whether we get more longer long form content.
Yeah, if we could just get like 30 people to cancel their Netflix subscription and buy that much matter per month instead, we'd be off to the races.
There you go. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
true. That's true.
And quite honestly, it's so easy. I'm not going to talk about price in the meeting here, but it is so easy to jump this price of matter. It's just because it's so unknown. Nobody knows it. It's not listed on any of the coin sites. I don't even use coinmarketcap.com personally. It's extremely rare that I go there. I'm always on what's this?
I use the Gecko.
Well, yeah, I use that, and I used to use Cointopia, Coin Paprika or whatever. But I'm always on dextools.io. So
yeah.
So anyway, long story short, the price of matter is beyond depressed. It's a golden opportunity. It's too easy to double and triple your money. Yeah. The fees on Ethereum that was the next point. So now it's your number 4. That's your number 4 scarcity point or principle, is because of the fees on Ethereum, which cuts out the third world. It's sad, but it is what it is.
Something that we never did, that actually a denizen did for us, is make a bridge to Polygon. Now, there is not right now a direct off-ramp to Polygon from Den in your wallet area to withdraw to Polygon. However, right now, if I wanted to, I could go with my Ethereum wallet that already has matter in it outside of Den. I could go to an existing matter bridge, and I could send it to Polygon and create on a Polygon DEX a liquidity pool with that matter on Polygon, to where at least on Polygon the trading back and forth would be cheap per trade.
So I got to see it for myself, because when I have done, and granted, 6 months is a long time in the crypto space. So when I tried to do some not arbitrage, some movements cross between Ethereum and Polygon, it was difficult. I lost a little bit in the process, the steps. So it wasn't very easy at all. And so
I'm gonna look it up right now to see if I can find
it might be, it might have changed now, but it kind of scared me, and it certainly wasn't. If it wasn't easy for me, and I've been in this space for a while, God help me if I was trying to, show. Grandma.
Oh, it would need an article written with links to exactly where the place is to go to move, like where to send stuff, where the bridge is, where the DEX is, that kind of thing, for sure.
Yeah.
And BCH actually had a bridge when they were doing the whole Oracle thing that Bitcoin was doing. They had something like that, and it got hacked. And I don't know, $30-40 million was lost. And its whole secondary market, that was kind of the Oracle market for Bitcoin Cash, got sacked. And the fifth item that I wanted to mention is, so it's a vulnerability point. The fifth item I wanted to mention, Joe, about the liquidity pool, and it just escaped me again. Darn it. Something about I forgot. I should have wrote it down. But it escapes me now. But it had something to do with the Ethereum being the fees creating additional scarcity for matter, which adds to its price point increasing, exponentially, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, I like the idea of, oh, I know what it was. It was having to do with tax. So
Hmm.
there were some burn tokens on Ethereum that were built, and I've speculated with them. They've all kind of gone bust, but it was a brilliant idea. It was a new way of code that when you bought or sold tokens on a DEX, it would automatically burn tokens off of the total supply, not going to a burn wallet. It actually burned the token. So you would see the total supply on say Etherscan. You would see that supply go down, dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. So the idea was, hey, how high can we create these taxes on this next token? So there was there was a fire token, there was pyro token, there was all of these tokens, and they were twisting and manipulating it back, just like how Litecoin and
Oh yeah.
all Bitcoin or Litecoin and other spin-offs from Bitcoin came.
That-
So it was fascinating because they were all trying to create a different way of burning tokens, which was a tax, a buy-sell tax or a transfer tax, but burnt the supply.
I will tell you, I'm working on a project right now with one of our partners where they're not going to institute this piece of it for a while. Maybe a couple months, I don't know. But that there is a component that the tokens you earn, you get essentially you are scored for keeping them, for holding them, for doing certain things on the network. But one of the interesting points was that over time, the amount mined will essentially be throttled and lowered to try to balance the circulating supply. So if let's say you're holding 1 million tokens, that you have a gain in this next period's mining if you convert, not burn, but convert them, which effectively is burning the supply. But in doing so, you gain in mining plus governance. So you essentially get you get a very good governance angle by burning them. Plus, you're helping the network. Plus, you're mining more to essentially, because if you're holding them, there's going to be fewer coming out, and so your competition's changed. But and so people will have to compete. It's like, oh, how much should I burn? Because nobody else has burned any, so it's a huge advantage, right? And effectively, it will balance the circulating supply. The other side of it is, as the volume of the network goes up, it will push the supply up. So
yeah. So like on these burn tokens, what I liked about it was like, let's say I had 1% of pyro, and a week later I check and now I own 1.78% of pyro because the total supply is burned. So not only did the value increase, my percentage in ownership of the token increased, giving more clout.
And the funny thing, we don't have anything, let's say with Matter, there is no such mechanism. It's just a very simple, linear increase that you very easily, and that's a good idea. I'll bring up to the guys that you very easily could include that in the mix, whatever the formula is. Okay, you're going to trade this amount, but in so doing, it's also going to burn this amount, which effectively means the more people use this, the more scarce it is. It just has a good balance effect.
Right. So. I like the idea of the burn function off of total supply rather than to a dead wallet, because it's visible to everybody.
Yeah.
Too many people don't know what a dead wallet is or how to look it up on Etherscan.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the last.
I did find so apparently the bridge has been rolled into, there's like a new wallet and there's two ways to do it. They even have a ZK bridge, a zero knowledge bridge over to to Polygon. So there are currently actually 777 matter on Polygon that one person holds, who is the person who created the bridge in the first place.
That is awesome.
And so I can look into that more, and I will see about bridging some of my own over just to document the process and take screenshots and things like that.
I'll do it too. That'd be fun.
It's a double fee. You have to pay the fee on Ethereum, and you have to pay the fee on Polygon. But the Polygon fee is what, less than a penny. So
yeah, the thing is though, is like anybody who wanted to, and this is not solving the problem of withdrawing from Den and eating that fee on that. This is solving the problem of a different type of person who wants to day trade on Polygon, and you know, that kind of thing. Because you can pay the fees to get it over there, but then you can do whatever you want once you're over there for pennies.
I'm going to bring this up because I've not even thought about this at all. But you know, considering the fact, okay, Dragon Chain is interop friendly. We could very easily say, hey, let's cut all of the Ethereum and just deploy it to Polygon for this reason alone, right? And now you would withdraw onto Polygon, and now you could trade more. I don't know if that would really help.
Well, in terms of what we could do, like, yeah, we could do a lot of things. I mean, I would say that we leave Ethereum and we would add a similar contract on Ethereum on Polygon as what we have on Ethereum, where we would just need to basically be watching two balances instead of one as far as the withdrawal deposit pools.
There's another thought. And you know, I don't want to. I'm not even going to mention what project it is, though. You could probably figure it out. You could infer it, but there is a chance that we could use existing deployed operational tech to, in particular, at least on the smart side for these behavior liquidity pools, that they could all run entirely on Dragon Chain, though not on Den, right? It could be, you would essentially pull your tokens over to that other market and trade them, and maybe you would have both the smart and the dumb side over there, and you'd have no fees, or very, very, you would still have fees probably, but they would be nothing near as volatile.
That would be cool for me. I think that would be cool. It doesn't need to be built into Den. It just needs to be. It just needs to be. It just needs to have visibility into Den's reputation system.
Right. So I will ask about that too, because that's something that
they might want to see that anyway, just as a demonstration of it functionally working.
Right.
That's where you could simulate it as well.
Right.
Do all your simulations over there. Right. Then you're off market too.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, you know, just a thought.
It's just,
but,
it's
the only issue I have is when you start talking about you know, decentralized exchanges or whatever kind of exchange, you know, the SECs are like, wow, what's going on? Who said what? You know, about exchange.
Yeah, that's why this group, if we did that, it would be all fully regulated.
Yeah, they're I know who you're talking about. They're the perfect ones to do it because it's all above board and it's all sanctioned and it's all regulated.
Right.
If they're interested, do it, but whatever. Yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
And I don't know I don't know what.
Yeah, it depends what they want. If they may or may not, because they may only want certain types of assets.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Yeah. So anyway, there's a bunch of stuff there. And I mean, if we could make headway on a few of these issues, then we would get more availability of resources to get further on others. So
yeah. So anyway, gentlemen, I'm going to be here in the very near future start posting a lot of YouTube videos on alpha cryptos, and I'll always link back to Den, and then also Den. Price speculation comments, not financial advice, of course, but
hey, what you do on your own channels is what you do on your own channels.
Yeah.
So and that, I guess that's all. My only concern is I don't want the SEC coming after knocking on my door either.
Yeah.
What it's like, you're a YouTuber that's price pumping this. Well, no, that's my only concern in my involvement with DENDAO, and that I don't want that to get clouded. But I'm certainly not. I'm going to, shall we say, self-censor myself in DENDAO
Yeah,
as I should, and for everyone's protection.
Seems reasonable.
And but nobody is talking about the investment opportunity and what that might bring into.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, I have to self-censor, right? I mean, I'm talking about this purely as a philosophical.
Because we live in America.
Technological, it's like, land of the free.
Well, to me, what the investment opportunity really is, and this doesn't run afoul of regulation, or at least the spirit of the law anyway, is that you could very well make an investment in the Matter token, right, for Den, and then come in and yourself do a lot of work to make the platform really amazing, like put a lot of work into the platform itself, whether that be bringing in an existing forum that you have, or bringing in an existing club or user group that you have, to make it more active and to make it more lively and to make it more more happening, to increase the transaction count just by having more conversations and things like that. And that would be a way to like pump your own tokens. But that's doing the work yourself. That's not the work of others. That's not speculating and hoping somebody else does the work. That's you digging, like I almost said digging your own hole, but like picking up the tools and breaking ground on your own project and that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's you buying a used car and getting in a paint job and then selling it. That's what it is, right?
Right.
So it's yeah. Wow. All right.
I got to get up at 3 anyway. Fly. So
hang in there, man. It's so good seeing you, catching up with you, Dave. I really, really miss you, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a little while. But I tell you what, the weather's better where I am now, and I like it. The internet's faster, so I'll be able to use it again.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, I've never had a faster upload than I have download, and it's weird. You know what I mean? I can host some shit now. I can host all the notes.
That's so funny. Yep. Wow.
Hey, Dave, I suggest it when you have time, and I know you're a busy man. When you have time, take a look at the marketing strategy by Denizens layer and that thread.
Yeah, I was Joe brought it up, and I realized I had missed that whole thread, so I do want to read up on that.
Dads. I'm calling it dads. Actually, Joe, you coined the name, dads. Daily active denizens. My mantra is 10,000 dads.
Yes. 10,000 dads, daily active denizens.
So, in other words, all they got to do is just post
That's something
once
else.
Or make one evaluation every day.
I will tell you,
when I go back in and fix my queries for that spreadsheet, maybe I can come up with a dad's query. That sounds great.
That would be actually how do you determine who's active, right?
And that stuff's fun. I like that stuff. I've been programming again more for my new day job and stuff. And it's been fun. So I'm looking forward to, all my keys and stuff aren't with me, so I haven't been able to work on it. But I'm going home soon. I'll be able to tinker Tom around a little bit with that. That'll be fun again.
How's the move and getting settled in? How's the missus settled in?
Yeah, I mean, we're not settled in, but we have a bed again. We're not on the air mattress anymore.
Good.
We ended up leaving them behind because they didn't fit on the U-Haul. So we were like, we need new beds anyway. So we've been roughing it for a little while, but no, we've got furniture again. And it's funny, we left the legs not installed on the sofa because now the dog just sits on it like a human. Just like we got a big Rottweiler. So the sofa is like lower to the ground, so we sit like
it's a plot for you.
Yeah, it's a plot for me, but the dog just kind of like sits with her feet on the ground and her butt on the couch.
Oh, I could picture
that's
that.
Actually the visual there is actually pretty funny.
How's the dog take to the move?
She's old. We got stairs now, so we carry. I have a harness that's like carrying a suitcase, helping her up the stairs, kind of thing. And but no, it's good. So we've got a lake to walk around, and she's doing great. We are still planning on, another move. We haven't bought any place or anything. We're renting, but it's a nice place, nice neighborhood. We love it there, and I'm glad we did it. All things
Good.
considered, I'm glad we did it.
Good.
That's good.
Happy for you.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, one thing to add on the adoption, our handicap to note is that question has already been answered on other platforms. And the issue is they cheat, right? So they either have bots,
Agreed.
paid, or AI bots. So it's the same thing as bots, I guess. But that's the thing we haven't done. And, maybe there's a role for that, but in a transparent way. That here is a bot that's going to produce content if nobody else does. I don't know.
There
right?
still is very high on my list. When I get back into having a lab at home, which I don't have anymore, I got to rebuild a lab out, get my servers running and my AI stuff running again.
Yes.
There is a from the same people that developed Stable Diffusion, which is the DALI competitor that's open source. That's the artwork thing. They've developed and released an LLM, a chatbot, to compete with like GPT. That's open source. The problem is you've got to have like a whole bunch of video cards all strapped together. You got to have thousands of dollars worth of hardware to be able to run it. But it's not out of reach. It is doable. And I would love to do what Joe mentioned, which is like have like a Den chatbot that just lives on Den.
A chatbot.
Yeah, a chatbot that just lives there.
Kind of like Telegram. Telegram has those chatbots.
Well, it could be restricted first to just the chat rooms. It could just be in every chat room.
Right.
It could also just do replies. It could potentially say, "I'm not going to make any original posts, but I will reply to your post and say, hey, I see this somewhere else. You copied that, didn't you?" Or
but this is the thing. It's like I really want to play around with it. And actually, one of the local universities here is offering like a 6-month-long crash course in AI stuff. I don't know if I'll take it, but I want it as a hobby. It's really interesting stuff to me. And it dawned on me that, and I'll just leave this with us to chew on for later, that as far as marketability of Den and value of Den and things like that and use cases, it's a very interesting idea to say that Den as a training model instead of Reddit, instead of Twitter, instead of because of the voting and the reputations and because of the quorums and things like that on different pieces of content, that it would be interesting to use that type of system to train an AI on, because then they could weight pieces of information based on what the community has voted on, how we've voted on information and that kind of thing. So I don't know, that's kind of the extent of how I've thought about it, but it would be a kind of an interesting and unique thing to pitch, which is, Den as a, hey, actually, if you had a lot of technical conversations, artistic conversations, philosophical conversations on Den, and everyone properly interacts and votes, and you reach consensus or not, and you have things that are tagged, and the tags themselves have a consensus. That actually is an interesting thing to think about when it comes to, hey, training an AI on that.
I mean, maybe you could plug in something where you could say here's a layer that is a transparent Snopes, right? With no hookers or cats or anything. It's Snopes that is just it just tells you the truth.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Or even just reality according to Den.
Yeah, there you go.
Whether or not it's like always right, it's just
you could do both.
Right, an interesting trial.
Kind of like ground news.
Den.Cyclopedia, right?
Right.
Where it could be, you post info that is on Wikipedia, and we get rid of all the shills behind the scenes and all the nation states that are banning.
Oh, I thought about that a long time ago.
Plug in because essentially the same model would exist if you had Wikipedia, where instead, like let's say instead of layers and instead of a post Reddit style, you just have, here's a topic, and I'm going to write about some event in history, and the goal then is to evaluate the truth of this or the completeness or blah, whatever else, right? And people could then be awarded for providing extra tidbits of info on that.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch there, but my gosh.
Last item on my whiteboard here, I have idea: pay someone in India $100 for postings in Layer every month, and make it my a login for Den that I would control the password and email. So pay someone just for the Indian layer, because I own a good chunk of the India layer, and then thinking
that would probably be a cool gig for someone, actually. Hey, go write about your own things that you know
in
about.
India, and tell your friends, and then that would build up the India layer. That was I have that on my whiteboard on as an idea. It's like, oh, okay, $100 a month, that's nothing. And
that's actually way better than what I thought you were saying, because I was also on board with just paying somebody to write on Den anyway. But it makes way more sense to just be like, hey, go write about your own country, your own nation.
Right. Give us trivia and some pictures every day, just something every day.
Maybe I could find an Aussie and do that with the Australian layer too.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe that's the prospect, right? Maybe that's the thing, is like we start buying up layers of different nations and then hiring people from that nation to write about their own country.
Right.
Yeah.
As an investor.
Then I have a
as
big
a side gig
star here. It says raise $20,000 to decentralize Den.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the 20K. You could do it with 20K easy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that's what I got here. I did different things on my whiteboard.
And I do like, by the way, your question from Super Happy this morning was related to separating the back end from the front end from the mobile. As in the DENDAO call, that would be something I would be totally back.
Right.
That
ownership, everything, so that
right. And if you develop a better, here's the source code for what was the mobile app. If you can expand it, make it functional and better, you can earn mining from it. That we would essentially tag all the traffic that comes in on the mobile app, and you would get a cut.
Yeah.
I even looked up who the gentleman was that started Apollo, and I was thinking I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, would you like to do this all over again, but with Den?
The token, the Apollo coin.
No.
App.
He
Reddit
app. He had an app that a lot of people preferred that app over Reddit.
It was probably
right.
What was the other one, Joe, that you mentioned in Super Happy Jargon Lucky? You
there are two that I've used. One that my favorite was Bacon Reader.
Reader, yeah.
And you should already reach out to them, because I think they were dead they had no way to survive after the changes.
And I'm thinking they might bring people over.
Reddit is fun, golden platinum. I mean, I had the paid version, right? I paid for it, and. Reddit is fun, golden platinum.
I used to always just use RES web browser on my desktop, Reddit Enhancement Suite.
Okay.
Just a browser plugin, and brought a bunch of quality of life.
There might be some Twitter ones too that had to rethink, and then you also have OmniChan. If you ever used, it was the best way to view the chans on mobile, right? It's just the friendlier to your RAM on your phone one way or another, but and it's pretty much dead because they
quick personal story about Reddit. So my wife has been getting hooked on it here recently. She is not a social media person at all. She doesn't have anything, never has had Facebook, nothing, right? And just with the VA and different things being, ex-army and this kind of thing. And she's kind of got tuned into checking it out every day and reading different posts and being a veteran and all of this. And so then she tells me, she said something, I go, it's too bad we don't have a veteran, layer. And she goes, but then there'd be no data there. I'd have to post everything. And then she, something about, I can't remember what it was, but yesterday she says, oh, and I just joined the subreddit Twice Baked Potato. Like, what is recipes about twice baked potato or something like this? And it's a dig at me, like hurry up and get a bunch of people over there to Den so they won't be on Reddit anymore.
Yeah, there's some hilarious, there's some really good niche communities on Reddit. Like, I mean, as much shit as I give Reddit because there's a lot of things to not like, there's still some really good, like the whiskey subreddit, or the my drug band is better than your drug band. Like people are just really funny sometimes. And that's what we need is those jokers.
Yep.
Anyway, so gentlemen, I really want to tell you heartfelt appreciation for all that you do and have done to get us this far. So let's just keep that torch burning and keep running with it and light up the world with it. We can do this.
Yeah, I'm starting back up a little bit. I was out of commission for a while. I got my engine starting again. So I'm excited too, because I'm quitting the rest of everything
now.
else.
I got to show you this T-shirt. Here you go.
I witnessed it.
I witnessed it in Texas. Oh hell yeah!
The last
That's
one.
Right.
Nice.
I'm there, man.
The last one.
I don't have a place to stay yet. I got to figure that out, but I'm there.
Yeah, we want to go like an hour out of San Antonio so we can really, because we'll get a better.
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out where
we're going to go.
We have a few choices, so
let's talk about it out of band a little bit.
Yeah, we should, because maybe we can. Maybe it'll be an opportunity to all meet up.
It'd be it is actually an opportunity to meet, because it's logistically doable for a lot of people.
Do you want to meet in the X? That's the other question. I was like, I somewhat want to go there, but I know it'll probably be a pretty popular place to go. Yeah. So
it'll be full of Reddit and Twitter people and Facebook people, and I don't want to hang out with them.
No, we can make it a Den event or something. I don't know. It could be the current thing for a week or two.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Great. Thanks so much, guys.
Have fun. Oh, I guess I'm gonna roll.
Yeah, you're driving today.
I don't know if you can say anything. We're good, right? So let's just play this beautiful, beautiful tune. How's that? Right?
See you next time.
Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. Adaptable approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so with for all detachable from the mandible. You see it now?